Hey everyone, sprinters in Project Zomboid are a nightmare. If there's any game appropriate Moodle that I would use to describe how I feel when I hear or see sprinters mentioned in this game, it would probably be this one. Unlike the default zombies, which you can fight back a horde of with multi-hit and a dream, fighting anything over 3 sprinters is basically asking to see the game end screen, and you can't even run away from them either. In this video, I'm going to be surviving 30 days in a sprinter-infested wasteland. To make things a little bit harder, I'll be playing on 10 years later, which means that power and water will be turned off as soon as I spawn in. Non-perishable food will also be limited in quantities, and the general condition of things will be poorer. I'm also going to be starting this run on November 15th in-game, which will take me into winter as the run gets closer to the end. My character is fairly balanced with classic negative traits such as prone to illness, slow reader, weak stomach, and slow healer, with a few modded ones such as deprived, which will spawn me in without anything, as well as ascetic, as I won't be cooking. And I also decided to throw in conspicuous, as the stealth mechanic doesn't really work in this game anyways. I spec'd heavily into long blunt weapons, and with my starting occupation, I had a nice spread in other skills as well, but importantly, I also got enough points in electrical and mechanics to be able to hotwire cars. The mod list is down in the description if you want to check it out, so without anything else, let's get right into it. I spawned in on day 1 completely naked, without any items or clothes in my starter house, thanks to my deprived trait. As with any start of a Project Zomboid run, I looted the house for any items of interest such as clothes and weapons. Upstairs in the main bedroom, I found a big hiking bag. I also picked up a hoodie to keep me warm. After equipping myself, I left the house. My plan from here was to make my way to the fire station, since I spawned in Rosewood, where I would be very likely to find an axe, which I could use to break open the door to the armory in the police station, just in case the doors were locked, and from there I could hopefully find a gun and some ammo. I ended up going through the bottom floor of another house and raided the kitchen, where I found some cans of food as well as a can opener so that I could eat them later. In the storage closet of the house, I also found a crowbar, which I could use relatively well with my starting spec into long blunt weapons, which now meant I could properly defend myself. I got jump scared as I left the house by a zombie banging on the front door. Looking around, I could also see a few more in the vicinity, which I carefully lured to me to take down one by one. As I got to the rear fence behind the fire station, on the other side were another 3 zombies. After jumping the fence, I easily took care of them with my crowbar and made my way down to the station, taking out the fireman zombies that were guarding the building. When I made my way inside, I checked the garage for any useful tools, and I found a hammer and a screwdriver for mechanics. In the equipment room, I found an axe in perfect condition, which I packed into my backpack. Before leaving, I also checked the medical bay and ended up getting a bandage and some disinfectant. Another big goal was also to find a working car in Rosewood so that I could leave and migrate up to the Louisville area. So after dealing with the zombies outside, I checked the surrounding cars, which all had okay engine quality, but all of their batteries were dead, and they were out of fuel, so I moved on. A big group of zombies was standing right outside the police station door, so I made my way inside using one of the side windows. Inside, I killed and looted a zombie that had a shotgun and also had a key to the armory. Once inside, I found a suppressor for any rifle, which is invaluable for this run as to not draw too many sprinters in when I shoot, and also allows me to take larger groups on safely. I equipped the suppressor on a rifle I also got from the armory, along with a drum magazine, and decided to clear out the general area so that I could sleep inside the station without getting surprised in the middle of the night. I took out some zombies outside, and I also checked this blue pickup, but it had no fuel and its battery was poor quality. I made my way back inside. Without any power, the whole station was pitch black. I locked myself in one of the holding cells and slept inside. I woke up the next morning and opened a can of beans, which I ate for breakfast on the floor of the jail bathroom. I decided to move further into Rosewood, especially to have a look at the car parks for any cars, so I snuck across the main street. The first car I found was just like the previous one, and after inspecting it, I moved on. The next car had a poor condition engine, and the next had a bad battery and an engine. However, it did have some fuel in its tank, which I siphoned with my gas can. Next I made my way towards the rear of the Gigamart. At the loading dock, I saw a black pickup truck, which after inspection was not only in near mint condition, it also had battery charge.
Yes.
In the Giga Mart, I looted some food for the moment, such as non-perishable snacks and cans of food. Back outside, I loaded all of the food into the back of the truck, filled it up with fuel, and made my way back to the fire station for the night. I went upstairs and locked myself in one of the bunk rooms where I could get a good sleep on a proper bed. Early the next day, I got into the pickup and spent the morning driving to the small town near Fallis Lake so I could loot the army surplus store there. After a long drive, I arrived and found a lot of guns and importantly, a lot of 5.56 ammo for my rifle. I also found some warmer clothes for the increasingly colder weather, which would also give me a lot of additional resistance against bites, scratches, and lacerations. At the rear of the store, I used my crowbar to pry open the door to the showroom display cases, where I found more guns and ammo. I spent the next few hours loading my truck with the stuff that I found. However, I prioritized ammo and guns that were versatile, as a lot of them weighed a lot and I had to balance this with the food I had already packed, which was arguably more important. After loading up everything, I took one of the cots from the main room and brought it inside the safer storeroom, where I placed it down and slept for the night. On the morning of day 4, I filled my water bottles at the bathroom tap and continued driving. I wanted to stop by the gas station for any useful car parts or gas cans, as well as any gas station snacks, but to my surprise, I spotted a military trailer parked by the laundromat. I decided that it was worth it to hitch it to my truck, so I parked a ways away and cleared the zombies around the area as I made my way closer. Stopping by the gas station, I also collected some granola bars and other small snack foods. Then I hitched the trailer to my truck and began driving towards Fallis Lake, specifically to loot the bookstore and the hunting store. The drive wasn't that long and I was surprised by the amount of zombies in the town, which was more than I was comfortable with taking given their spacing and the distance I had to work with. So I drove past the town limit and shot any zombies that followed me far enough. Then I parked up beside the lake and used the standard trick by sitting in the inaccessible side of the car to protect myself from any zombies in the night. On day 5, I decided it was better to make my way into town on foot to avoid drawing a large horde, allowing me to sneak up on the individual groups and take them out before driving in. I cleared a smallish group near the gas station and then made my way to the farming and rural supply store. Aside from some seeds and farming equipment, the main loot area was behind a security door in the rear, which gave me access to the firearm cabinets, but I didn't find anything of interest. I also decided to stop by the hardware store, however, there was nothing that I wanted to hold back with me, as wood is easy to come by and I didn't really need any construction materials like concrete or plaster, so I made my way back to the car and drove into town and parked myself in the same way against the side of the building to spend the night, as any further exploring would be very dangerous. When I woke up on day 6, I spent some time reorganizing my storage, after which I decided it would probably be a good idea to take some boxes with me for later when I find a permanent base location. After sorting all of that out, I made my way to the main destination, the bookstore. The main things that I was looking for were the trade books, especially carpentry, metalworking, and mechanics, which are the most useful for long-term sustainability and base building. After grabbing most of the volumes for the books I wanted, as well as the volumes for many others, I went back, packed them up, and spent the night in my car. On day 7, I started my long drive to the Louisville area, specifically this storage facility a little bit south of the military checkpoint. Aside from an initial hiccup on the road, the rest of the journey went smooth. I spotted a Humvee in the middle of the road and thought it would be worthwhile to check its quality, however it was very badly damaged and beyond any immediate repair. So I left it behind and kept going, which took up most of the day. I arrived at the storage facility with a few zombies chasing me very late in the night. I drove to the end of the gated area to create distance and take out any that were following me. Then I locked myself in one of the small storage lockers, placed my bed, and slept through the night. I woke up for the first time in my new base on day 8, but we had a lot of work to do before this place was fit enough to be a safe base. I decided that I would make my permanent home in one of these larger storage lockers. If I found a sledgehammer in the future, then I could bulldoze these walls and create a larger living space. But for now, I started moving the furniture, containers, and then all of the items from my truck and trailer into the storage locker. After all of my heavy furniture and unnecessary items were stored, I wanted to drive into the military checkpoint to hopefully find some more guns or ammo. Right in front of the road blockade there was a large horde of sprinter zombies, so I drove down a ways and made my way towards them on foot, taking them out in smaller groups like I did before. Once I made my way back up the highway, I moved the roadblocks out of the way so that I could squeeze through. On day 9, I spent the day looting the military checkpoint for any guns and ammo. I checked the armory tent as well as the storage container and the personnel tent. A few zombies tried sneaking up on me, but I fought them off. Up in the north of the camp, I also picked up a generator, which I will need for power. I'll need at least 2 so I can power up a gas station for an unlimited amount of fuel and power later, which is also conveniently close to my base. Snow fell for the first time on the morning of day 10. Today we drove back to the base and did some more reorganizing of the containers and items, which took up the whole day. In the evening, since I wasn't tired, I started reading my first carpentry book, which took me into early the next morning, which I also spent reorganizing more storage, moving furniture, and reading more skill books. Day 12 marked the first day of our multi-day trip into the heart of Louisville. I have a few places I want to hit. The videotape store for the Woodcraft VHSs so I can get carpentry levels, and the military surplus store just for the sake of loot. We made our way through the checkpoint and into the refugee camp on the outskirts of the city. I got distracted by all the vehicles outside, so I decided to check them for any interesting loot or spare parts, but I came up short. And after I cleared the zombies from the area, I decided it would be wise to spend the night here since I knew it was safe, and I wasted a lot of time earlier in the day. Continuing our trip on day 13, I decided to stop by the Gigamart on the way since it was right there and I could always use the extra food. However, I accidentally didn't see a tree blocking the road, causing me to crash and my engine to stop, forcing me to escape. After what felt like a near-death experience, I knew that I had to find a new car since my engine was totally broken at this point, so for now I was stranded here. I explored and looted the supermarket for any supplies and I found a lot of canned food. Since I didn't have a bed on me, I spent the night sitting in the safety of the bathroom until it got light outside so that I could see everything. I packed all the canned food and snacks I found in the back of the trailer, which I was going to take with me. After scouting the parking lot a little west of the supermarket, I found a fire truck, which was in perfect condition, aside from its battery, which was completely drained. So I went back to my original pickup and took the battery and replaced it into the fire truck, and now I had a new vehicle. Then I spent the rest of the day moving all of my things between them. On day 15, I hooked up the trailer to my new truck and was finally able to get back to my trip. I drove down towards the small strip mall where I faced a few zombies, which came extremely close to getting me, but I somehow managed to dodge them. First, I checked out the liquor store. I didn't want any booze, however the main thing I wanted here was the bourbon, which I could use to make Molotov cocktails, which are extremely useful to clear zombies, as they are really the meta strategy. After this, I looted the video store and prioritized finding the Carpentry Woodcraft VHS tapes, as with enough of them, and with a book XP boost, I could easily get up to level 7 and higher without any innate points or boosts. I also decided to take the TV set with me as I'll need something to watch the tapes on, and it was just conveniently sitting there. And of course the table as well. After this, I made my way deeper towards the industrial district, but keeping along the northern outskirts near the river to avoid the large buildings with hidden halls inside them. I stopped by a gas station where I stayed the night. I started day 16 by siphoning gas from the cars in the parking lot. After getting some fuel, I resumed driving towards the military surplus store. Once I got nearer to the warehouses, the concentration of zombies got much larger, which meant that I had to lure them and create distance, which I did and took care of them. I stopped by this manufacturing plant and managed to find some nails, metal parts, some tools, and some repair equipment. After looting, I moved my car to the rear of the military surplus store and made my way inside by clearing and entering the broken window into the office. Inside, I found a huge supply of all sorts of things, but I was unable to get inside the display room due to the security grate, which I could only get through using either fire to burn the walls or a sledgehammer. And burning is very risky as it can burn all the loot, so I decided against it. I picked up a few new guns and ammo as well as a lot of repair kits for my rifle. I locked myself in the small room between the security gate and the security door for the night along with a cot I looted from the front of the store. The next day I spent the morning moving the loot into my trailer, after which I decided to head off on foot towards a large warehouse to the south. Inside were rows and rows of metal shelves with specific categories of items. I looted a bunch of farming equipment such as seeds, trowels, watering cans, and farming books so that I could establish a renewable food source when I got back. On my way back, I hopped over the fence of this mechanic workshop and found some engine parts, as well as some mechanics magazines. On day 18, I made my way towards the pawn shop. I cleared out the zombies outside, and inside I found a sledgehammer in the tool display. Yes. With this, I was able to break down the security gate and make my way inside the main glass cabinets. I found an AK and some other rifles that took 5.56, which were compatible with both my suppressor and drum magazine. I also picked up some pistols and the ammo that I needed before putting it all back inside my trailer. As I was driving back to my base on day 19, I remembered that the police station was nearby. The Louisville Police Headquarters and Prison Complex has a huge, large armory on the second floor, so I decided to check it out and stop by. After sprinting and jumping over the courtyard fence, I narrowly escaped being eaten by a huge horde. I was lucky that my character had managed to leap over the road barrier and not trip, and this was only a small amount that I had managed to lure out of the building. Since the zombies could not path towards me, they all sat still, so I took the opportunity to pick a few of them off. Since my car was basically right in the middle of the horde, I had to figure out a way to get it back, or else I would have to leave all of my loot. With some planning, I hopped the fence near the rear of the courtyard near the small convenience store and baited the zombies so that I could slowly deal with all the ones outside. And after that was done, I sprinted as fast as I could towards the door of my car, knowing that if I spent too long, I would bait out another horde from the building. As I drove away, a few had began to trickle out, but I was already on my way. On day 20, I decided to take a massive risk. I would try to clear the entire horde from the building, because as you can see, not only is the police station connected to a prison, but it is also connected to an apartment building, a police office, and a courthouse, which is all in the sound range, which makes the amount of zombies inside absolutely huge. I remembered seeing a police car to the south of where I was, so I made my way down with the battery from my car and fixed it up. My plan was to barricade myself inside this police car, turn on the sirens, and throw a Molotov, which would attract and burn all the zombies in the range of the siren. And if I was against an indestructible wall, I would be safe for the most part. As I neared the prison in my car, it was time to set the plan in motion. I got out, threw a Molotov at a small group that was wandering, ran back inside, turned on the sirens, and switched seats. Initially, all the zombies in the close area began running up on me, and at this point the plan was all or nothing, as I couldn't leave. So I sat inside and waited for the full horde to descend on me. By the late evening, many of the zombies had burnt to a crisp, and only a few were left, and by the late night, right before midnight, only 3 were left. So to speed up the process, I turned the car back on and ran them over. Extremely early on day 21, I got out and examined the damage. The bodywork was completely shot, but all the mechanical components were fine. It felt extremely quiet as I made my way inside the police station. I was still wary of any trapped stragglers as I made my way up to the second floor, however the place was completely empty. To be honest, there wasn't much of note in the armory aside from some ammo, which was all I could take with me because my containers were already full, so I spent the rest of the day moving and packing things up. It was finally time to head back on day 22. On the way back, I stopped by the checkpoint and picked up the second generator which I would need to power the gas station. When I got back, I connected the generator to my electrical system and started demolishing the walls inside my storage container to expand the space. Day 23 was pretty much the same. I placed my TV and my containers, and then I spent the whole day reorganizing the storage from the random items in random containers to specific assigned places to make everything nice and neat. This included places for my tools, my weapons, and all of my food, which I had plenty of for now, but renewable water was still an issue. On day 24, I cleared out a group that was at my gate. Since I was yet to have one, they were free to wander in. The goal for today was to bring my second generator to the gas station, hook it up, and extract some fuel for the generator at home, which I can use to finally watch TV back at the base. There was a significant group at the gas station, so I drove in circles to clump them all together. My car was getting in poor shape, so it was stalled on me, but I got it back running, or else I would have definitely not made it out. After they were clumped, I drove far away and took them all out with my full auto. And after which, I hooked up the generator, and for the first time, I filled up my car full of fuel. On day 25, I drove back, and for the first time, I could see at night with my new lights. To celebrate this occasion, I spent the day watching woodcraft on my TV and reading carpentry books to level up my carpentry. On day 26, we started by watching woodcraft until we hit level 3 carpentry. Then I went outside in the snow and chopped a few trees down in order to get some planks for building. The first structure to build was a gate and walls near the open entrance. So after sawing and harvesting some planks, I built the frames for the walls which I would later fill in, and then went back to reading more carpentry books. On day 27, we finally trained our carpentry high enough to be able to build the wooden gate. I built the gate in the empty space in my wall, which now meant I was relatively safe from any wandering zombies coming into my base with no resistance. I also filled the wall frames with the intermediate wall level, which was better than nothing. The rest of the day I spent picking the foliage from my floor and cleaning up my house. To finish the day, I also built a small rain collector as I wasn't high enough level to build the rain collector barrel yet. On day 28, I decided it would be a good idea to build a rampart over my gate so that I could shoot any zombies from high ground, and also have a sightline over my wall, so I built some stairs as well as some flooring. To improve it, I also built a low fence which would prevent me from accidentally falling over the other side. For the rest of the day, I started working on my farm. I collected dirt from the local patches and laid out simple plots where I could plant my crops. This continued into day 29 as I dug furrows on each of the plots I had planned out to plant the crops in. I decided to plant 2 types of vegetables, carrots and potatoes. The potatoes would net me multiple vegetables per each seed I plant. And after my day at the farm was done, I decided to finish my night off by reading a book to lower my character's boredom, which had started to make me sad due to the lack of action I was having. On the final day, I decided to take a quick trip across the road to the school to collect some garbage bags from the dumpsters to make another rain collector. The school wasn't empty, but I did my best to avoid or get rid of any zombies that got in my way. After taking the garbage bags, I made my way back. Back at base, I built another rain collector close to my crops so I could have a close access to water that I could water them with, which I did right after with my watering cans. I finished the day by watching some TV before going to bed. And that was my 30 days. I'd really like to thank you for watching if you stuck around to the end. Let me know what you'd like to see next down in the comments. And if you really liked this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. See you soon!